Okay, Eddie.
Hi, everyone. Good afternoon, and I want to welcome everybody to the meeting. Mary Ellen Wagulski will not be joining the meeting today. She doesn't feel well. She had her second COVID shot today, so maybe that's part of that situation. So I will be chairing the meeting as the vice chair, and I want to welcome everybody to the meeting. So before we start, why don't we just pledge allegiance to the flag that we can all think about. And here we go. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right. So Lori, let's start. Lori, and you can start as the executive director.
You want me to run through the agenda?
Yeah, why don't we start the agenda and you can run right through it, Lori.
You got it. All right. So first would be roll call. So obviously Mary Ellen Wagulski is absent, but Edward Diana.
Yes, here.
Jim DeSalvo.
Present.
Steve Brescia.
Here.
Mike Gatos.
Here.
John McCary.
Here.
Denise Quinn.
Here.
And we also have with us myself, Laurie Villasuso, CEO, Vincent Casalino, Managing Director, Melanie Schouten, Chief Operating Officer, Ed Janisevitz, the Financial Officer, Kevin Dowd, and Russ Ganzel as attorneys. Next would be the approval of the minutes. So the first is January 14th, 2021 board meeting minutes. I presume everyone got a chance to read them. If you could, I would take a motion and a second for approval.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And then the next would be the January 14th, 2021 Audit Committee meeting minutes.
Motion. Second.
All in favor?
All in favor? Yeah, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Excellent. So with that being complete, we will move over to Ed to go over the financial reports and request for payment.
Get myself down here. Thank you. All right, am I looking at this thing here? Okay, first chart you see is the cash balance as of January 31st. There's just under $6 million with the IDA. Second chart is the IDA income expense for January. Obviously not too many bills are coming in. Basically, we had the, what we had was from last month, the application fee came in for the company in Warwick, and we did pay our insurance for the year. Next chart is the accelerator. Again, we have the first part. I think the only comment I'll make is that the rent is a little high because that includes both January and some February checks that were written. Okay, then on to the statement of net assets. Again, about similar. The only thing that I would say from previous ones is, since it's a new year, the long-term receivables, if a number of them are now as current, because they'll be expected to be received sometime during the year. And then finally, we're down to the receipts and vouchers. We had the receipt I mentioned before for the application fee, and I include the vouchers they're asking for approval for. You see we have an agency one, some standard accounting and auditing. And finally, I do have $750,000 to support the accelerator for the second quarter of this year. For a total requesting of $807,750.36. That completes my report.
Also, like to point out to everybody that there was in the packet, the one of the payments for this month was the 2020 FTZ payment. In everybody's packet, there was a report with the request for that payment. So going forward, that'll be something that we receive from the county every year to supplement the payment that we make in the amount of $25,000 for the FTZ.
Okay. All right. Are there any questions from anyone? Okay. Thanks, Ed, for that.
Welcome.
We'll just need a motion and a second to approve the reports and approve the payments.
So moved.
All right, any discussion? All right, all in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Aye.
Okay. All right, Lori.
Next would be chairman's report. And Eddie, today that would be you. Do you have anything to discuss at this time?
Well, the accelerator, we had discussion about 3 companies. And Mr. Rollins, I believe, is on. He will bring us up to date on those. And Denise and I were at the meeting today. We heard all about them. And we are recommending to the board that we approve these 3 companies that want further help in the accelerators without walls. That was discussed today as well. The actual campuses now, we are going to call the 5 sites campuses now. We feel it's more appropriate that way. So anything dealing with accelerators will be called campuses. And they would be the New Windsor site, the Middletown site, the Newburgh site, the Warwick site, and hopefully coming on board very shortly would be the Highland Falls site as well. We're going to call those campuses. That way we will keep the accelerator without walls as the second phase of that. And that's would be all those other businesses that we help. We also made a decision that we are going to bring each and every accelerators without walls whenever a business gets in contact with us or needs some outside help from us. We will bring that to the committee first and then bring it to the full board before we do any help with those businesses. We think it makes it much cleaner, and this way the board will approve all of them beforehand when we help those accelerator without walls as well. So that was the meeting today. It was very good. It was lengthy, went over the hour, went a little bit longer, but I think a lot of knowledge was brought in. And we did hear from 2 of those companies again, and James Rollins will bring us up to date a little bit more about what was said during that presentation.
Chairman, I have a question, or Vice Chair.
Yes, go ahead, Stephen.
Yeah, this week, earlier in the week, the mayor of the Village of Monroe called me about a project that they're looking to do downtown Monroe. And I had Vinny and James call the mayor, and we had a county legislator on the call as well. And they were very pleased with the suggestions and the answers that both gentlemen gave. Do I need to go through the approval process when I do that henceforth? Because that happens quite often. And
No, so should I answer that, Ed?
Sure,
So-
Vinny.
No, as a board member, Steve, you can bring it to us at any time. Before we ever take action on the project that big, right, that will go through the process, but we're happy to address it at any moment. And thank you for bringing that up because we didn't bring it up sooner. So we have 2 in the hopper right now. One was a request in Newburgh for another accelerator in artisan food. And then there's a request to do a SWAT to see what could be done it's Monroe, right, Steve? Monroe? Yeah.
Village of Monroe, yes.
Village of Monroe, which we haven't addressed either of them, but both letters went to Eddie as the chair of the accelerator committee. And I
Right.
think you copied those, Steve, as chair of the legislature on both of them also.
Okay. Good, thank you.
Yeah, Vinny, I'm aware of those because we had discussion, but I don't think the committee itself has really had much discussion on those. And certainly the full board hasn't really discussed them yet at all. So yes, Steve, we will discuss them. I think we should probably do it next month in first the accelerator meeting and then bring it to the full board and see what everybody's thinking.
Good.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, that one in Newburgh, I've spoken to Vinny, and I'm sure that would include recommendations to utilize the IDA that's in the city of Newburgh.
Yes.
Sure.
I mean,
Yeah, I think that would be
Funding.
important.
I mean,
Yeah.
we've done more for the city of Newburgh than any municipality in the county, and that goes for county government as well. So,
Yeah.
always willing to help, but, let's
Right.
utilize the resources that are in place too,
Yep, I agree.
besides just ours.
Yep. yeah, seeing we're getting criticized for using too much money, so, you know.
Hmm.
Okay,
Yeah. The city of Newburgh isn't criticizing for it.
no, they're not criticizing.
They want more.
I don't think Monroe is either now, you know.
Right.
So
All
Ed,
right.
would you like, James, just to talk about the three AWOW?
Yes, I think at this point we
Just those
should,
three,
Vinnie,
James.
so the full board can have comment on it, please.
Yes, those three requests, the first one is from FPS. They are a current member, and what they are doing is actually asking for assistance to pivot out from where they are as they consider what's going to be needed for their success as we consider post-COVID economic recovery. And the company's looking to pivot out from where they were in terms of PPE into some new avenues. And so they've asked for our help. We've anticipated approximately about 16 hours a week in helping them restructure what they're doing as they look forward to actually be able to capitalize on what they've got going now. I believe they've got some national contracts with the Department of Defense for masks and as well as gowns. And so they've asked that we provide some services for them as they look to pivot from where they are now to going forward so that they do not lose any jobs and they continue the plight. And I'd like to add that they also noted that last year was their best year ever as a result of the help that we've been able to provide in terms of our expertise and guidance through the IDA. So that was
James, you might want to just mention the amount of workers that are there now. And if they don't get this other work, that they might have to lay off X amount. So maybe you should
that's the
just.
second one. That's for Orange Packaging that Eddie's
Oh,
mentioning.
okay, I'm sorry.
Okay,
that's what-
that's okay.
We're looking to help them. They're looking to pivot as well. They're creating a new clean room. We've already looked at it, and we used one of our GTG staff, Bill Cox, who learned a great deal when he actually helped erect and install the clean room here at our Middletown campus. And they have got an ask to actually create a clean room so that they can package pipettes or the swabs that are used in collecting cultures for medical facilities. And what he noted is even just yesterday, he got a call. We helped him actually connect with Megan from Senator Schumer's office to kind of expedite a process. But if they don't get help by March, that they will be forced to lay off approximately 150 people. And that would actually take them a step back because they've put on 200 jobs since we began to help them from last year. And so the construction of
the first one, James, which one was the first one? Because I was thinking that was on packaging too.
the first one was FPS. Okay, the first one was FPS.
They're where? In the city also? I'm sorry. FPS.
No, they're in
Chester.
Florida, right? No,
They're in-
Chester.
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 I'm sorry.
Okay.
Yeah,
They're
they're in
in
Chester.
Chester.
They're in Chester.
Okay.
All right, so that's FPS, and then Orange Packaging.
I'm sorry, who's the legislator in Chester, Steve?
John Bureau.
Thank you.
John Bureau. Yes.
Okay, and then the third one that we are requesting AWOW approval on is Dan Hinton from Gilman's Cleaners. We've just begun that process. He's actually looking at a new business model of pivoting in from where he is. As we all know, that the dry cleaning business really suffered because people, again, are indoors, they're not out, they're not going, the dry cleaning business has really suffered. So he has a lot of space, he has an old building there, and we're going to help him in actually providing some guidance as he looks to pivot and work with, for example, there's a costume shop in New York City, and he'll be able to actually work with that costume shop and storing their costumes, cleaning their costumes, which will generate some revenue for him and in effect maximizing his storage utilization. But he really needs some business consulting as well as he considers the pivot to keep his business open. He had lost about 20 employees. He has since brought 4 employees back. But one of the things that he certainly needs is guidance in updating an outdated building. He's got some real issues there in terms of lighting and electrical. And we can assist him, of course, in securing financing through grants as well as organizations like NYSERDA. And so those are the three. I'm
James,
sorry?
James, what's the job, projected jobs? You lost 20, you got 4.
He's got
retained.
4 back. He's got 4. He's expecting to be able to actually bring back, and when I've talked to him, not only the people that were there before up to the 20, but he's also expecting, he's got some relationships in PA with some of the camps, and he'd be able to do some of the work there. So he's actually anticipating, I think in my previous conversations with him, to have some part-time jobs in the summer for about 3 or 4 months as well. And I think it was about 30 or 35 of those jobs, in addition to bringing back the people that he had before.
And James, maybe just give a little background. John McCary and I certainly know. Gilman's was there for 50, 60 years. The
Mhm.
Gilman family, Dulugat's family, sold
Yeah.
it to this person 3 or 4 years ago. And that's why it's like really a startup business again. And now they're trying to pivot to be
Exactly.
self-sustaining again. So
He actually just purchased that building from, well, I don't know if he purchased the building or purchased the business from Marty DeLugat's, but
right,
he's only been there. And then just as he got in there,
Right.
before he really get his footing, COVID hit.
right,
And so he's been trying to manage that. And, it's been a real challenge for him, but he's maintained it. He's still there. And the timing of us being able to help him upon approval of the board, I think could be rewarding in terms of maintaining those jobs and facilitating the growth of additional jobs.
right. Okay, thanks, James. All right, does anybody have any questions about those 3 companies? James is on and Vinny's there. You could ask those questions.
Well, is a recommendation of the committee to move ahead with, I
Yes, the
certainly think
recommend-
this is move ahead.
Yes, Steve, the recommendation out of the committee was to bring it to the full board and to approve those 3 businesses. Yes, that was our thoughts.
Well, I'll make that motion. I certainly endorse that.
I'll second.
Okay, and any further discussion? I think James maybe bring up as well that we broke out the total budget of the AWOW program now into a monthly allocation, so we could keep much more track of each month of what was being spent. So it's about 200 hours a month that could be utilized. And in the month of January, we only utilized 140 hours of the 200 hours. So I just want the board to be aware that 140 hours was spent, not 200 within that month of January. James, you have anything to add? James?
And
We're
we're,
assuming we pass this, which we're probably going to. I mean, hopefully James will report that in March at the E&E meeting in the legislature. I mean,
absolutely.
The county exec and I toured Orange Packaging, and so did, I believe, Kevin Darian Lujan and Jim Kulisek, and they were impressed. And Gilman Cleaners, like Eddie said, they've been around forever. My parents used to use them when I was a kid.
Yeah,
And they
of
had
course.
the van, remember the van that went
The
around?
van and all, sure.
And the Chester company, I haven't had the pleasure of touring, but I certainly would like to. So.
And this is a level of what we're looking to do, because again, we wanted to improve our internal controls as well as accountability, not only to the board, but when those kind of questions come up. And as I said in the committee meeting, I've got it down to a level of detail, even for those 140 hours by a percentage of everybody, that all of the AWOW hours for last month, for example, we talked to City on the Hill, that represented 4% of the 200 hours that we had budgeted, broken down for the month. And so anytime there's a question about it, we'll be able to have that, it'll be readily available. But again, it's our way of making sure that we put the internal controls in place to make sure that not only we maximize the dollars that are allocated or used by the IDA, but it also provides a kind of service that can actually help these businesses grow and fuel our local economy as well.
Okay, James, thank you. Any other questions? All right, so I'll call the question to help these 3 businesses going forward. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, thank you. Okay, Lori?
Right, so with that, that would be now my report. So first, once again, we're all meeting remotely because the executive order to allow remote meetings was extended through February 26th. We'll find out for sure whether or not we'll be meeting in March, closer to February 26th, whether we'll be meeting here or in person. We reported a few months ago that we were contacted by the Office of the State Comptroller in December to review some project data that was submitted back for 2019 and for 2018, actually. So a lot of questions. They gave us about 10, 15 questions about bond issues, pilot reporting, property tax reporting. So Melanie, Ed, and I, along with Julie Marshall from Harris Beach, met with the State Comptroller's Office on the 21st to discuss this audit/review. So Ed has between the group, excuse me, Ed provided a report back to the State Comptroller's Office. They reopened up Paris reporting. All of our answers, by the way, for the record, were completely valid. They had just further questions about some of the entries that were put there. Again, a lot of Paris reporting, just for everybody's benefit, is throughout the state. Everybody knows that Paris is an inaccurate system at best. So, we all kind of have to work within the confines of the way that the structure is set up. So sometimes there are questions, and then when there are questions, if it needs to be corrected, the state has to allow you the access to make those corrections, because once you've submitted, it's locked forever unless they revise it. So we're working through that process. I think that's nearly behind us. Having that sorted out will allow us to then submit our 2020 Paris filing with no issues whatsoever. Of course, that part is ongoing. We are waiting for letters back from the projects. Again, this time is usually around when we start receiving the letters. If you'll recall, we require, as supplemental data to our audit requests, we require New York State 45s to supplement the employment figures that are submitted. And we also require the New York State Form ST 340 to supplement any sales tax incentives that were received throughout the year. So in order for them to get that to us, obviously their accountants have to do their work first. So unfortunately, we kind of have to, it's a chicken and egg game a little bit with that, but we're on track. We will be coming back to the board in March to with JGS to go over their external audit of the year 2020, and then talk about the Paris filing, and then be able to submit everything to Paris by the end of March 31st, or by the end of March 31st, because that is the deadline that the state has for all of our required reporting. Just this week on Tuesday, we held the public hearing for Fiorello Pharmaceuticals. That's the Green Thumb Industries marijuana facility in the town of Warwick. It was virtual, of course. Mike Sweeten was in attendance, who, of course, issued his support. We also have a support letter from him. There was an individual from Warwick who raised concerns. He submitted a letter, which we will send to the board along with the public hearing transcription. Again, Fiorello is not on the agenda today. It's likely they'll be here in March, but there were some questions about the application, some of the details about the project. Again, as a reminder to everybody, Fiorello applied for their fully phased project, which could be 3 to 4 years. But in that, we had to kind of apply for the whole thing because they are seeking some bond financing, which Russ at Harris Beach is helping them with right now, work through. And in order to consider the entire application, of course, we have to consider all 3 phases. And as Rebecca had mentioned at our last meeting, all 3 phases, of course, are planned, but they depend a lot on legislation and the market and the demand. So we only considered at this public hearing the first 100,000 square feet because that development is absolutely planned. But that was kind of the nature of the questions of this letter that we've received, and some thoughts about pilots. But again, the full board will see that letter in full as soon as we have the public hearing transcript, and we'll send it all out together.
Lori, just a question.
Sure.
The person that, made comment or whatever, is that a person that's in the industry? Is it a person in community, or
A Warwick resident.
Yeah,
just a
general resident
resident?
of Warwick. Yeah, of Warwick.
Okay.
Mhm.
Not involved in the industry or anything, just
That's
a
correct.
resident? Okay, I just wondered, what their status was in the discussion, that's all. Okay.
Yeah. If
So
I can
the,
say something, the fellow who talked was not necessarily opposed to the project. He just was concerned about the speed at which it was moving.
Okay,
And ultimately, the size of the building being 450,000 square feet, it's a large project. That's what he was concerned about.
okay,
and, one of the concerns was that there wouldn't be enough time for the board to review the public hearing transcript in order to approve it today, which, again, it's not on our agenda for approval today. So some of it was a little moot, but, it will be, comments are necessary. That's why we hold public hearings. So.
Yeah,
Important to have the opportunity. We, a few months ago, approved an assignment and assumption for the sleep-in in Blooming Grove. I'm sure you guys saw the article, but it was also sent via email today that the Clear Key property sold. That's in Blooming Grove. So that's sold. Our assignment and assignment and assumption is complete now. So the new owner has now taken over the pilot, and that new owner will be responsible to report employment figures going forward for the remainder of that benefit. As I mentioned before, the FTZ packet the FTZ report was in your packet. Report and invoice will be required to receive funds in the future. This is one of the things I think everybody is noticing, right? We're refining practices as we go forward. Every year we get a little bit better, but of course, with our agents, one of the things that we always did with the county was we just wrote a check in exchange for an invoice, but now we are supplementing every check and every invoice with a full report about the activities for the year and any ways that our funds helped to further the efforts of that particular agent that we assign. We were also, Vinny and I were on a call with the county exec and Bill Fioravanti and Harry Port, who had talked about sort of a reinvigoration of the FTZ. I think they had just appointed some new board members and plan to hold some events to promote it. Once again, I know that's happened a few times. The FTZ is difficult to promote and difficult to understand, I think, unless you're in a very specific industry. But, hopefully the funds that we contribute to the county will help to further that and have more people take advantage of it and perhaps attract more industry. Last but not least on this report would be that we have 2 resolutions that were sent out this morning. Melanie sent them out to everybody. We have in our budget, we have a budgeted amount for marketing and PR, but based on, some recent revisions in our practices, policies, and procedures, we want to just formally authorize and resolve to, formally appoint 2 marketing companies. So first, we have Focus Media still at a $2,500 a month rate for website management and accelerator client stories. That would be right now for this year. We would be appointing them for the remainder of this year. And the second is Studio 88. Everybody here is familiar with Dean Brady, who sits in on our calls and makes sure we get live streamed. He and Melanie work very closely together to promote our accelerator. They have our Instagram campaigns and our Facebook campaigns. He does tech troubleshooting and, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So Studio 88 is $5,000 a month to support all of our tech. And Kevin, you I assume have both of those resolutions if you wanted to read them.
Now?
Yes, please, if you don't mind.
So the first one is resolution authorizing the retention of the services of Focus Media to assist the IDA in matters regarding the content development and maintenance of the IDA's website.
We just need a motion second.
Yeah.
So move.
You need a second?
Second.
somebody want to second it?
Yeah, Mike just did. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay,
I'll do the roll.
Second, sorry. I was muted. I was screaming it.
All right, Ms. Quinn,
Are you muted,
She
Denise?
she said her mouth moved, but she's on mute.
Aye.
Mr. McCary,
Aye.
Mr. DeSalvo,
Yes.
Mr. Gatos,
Yes.
Mr. Brescia,
Yes.
and Mr. Diana.
yes,
That's 6 ayes, Mr. Chairman. Resolution
Thank you.
adopted. Resolution is resolution authorizing the retention of the services of 88 Studio LLC to assist the IDA in matters regarding the design of marketing materials for the IDA and accelerator websites and hosting Zoom webinars and live streaming IDA committee and board meetings.
is there a motion?
Second.
Moved.
Don't move, so second.
Second, okay. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Did you want to do that by roll call, Kevin?
I was ready to, if you, it's up to you. I mean, everybody's saying aye? I don't hear anybody saying no. Anybody saying no?
Right.
All right, so you have 6 ayes, Mr. Chairman. Madam Chairwoman's absent, so that's the 6 ayes.
Okay, thank you, Kevin.
Okay.
Okay, Lori.
Okay, that would be it for my report. So then the next item on the agenda would be the accelerator report. And I think this would be a good time for Vinnie to formally introduce Mr. Rollins to the group and
Yes.
go over the rest of the details.
Okay.
James
Vinnie,
Rollins,
go ahead.
Hello.
James Rollins has joined Galileo. He started working with Accelerator clients, I'm going to say back in Halloween, around that time frame. And I've known him for a long time, since he worked for Taylor Recycling and that kind of thing. We've done a lot of business together. I'm glad he was available. He has his expertise is he's got advanced degrees in entrepreneurial leadership and management. He's run businesses before. And it's just the kind of help that our clients can use, both AWOW as well as the campus clients, as we call them now. And also, I'm embarrassed to say that we even talk this way these days, but I am going to talk this way. I didn't have any diversity in Galileo, and I wanted diversity, and I wanted the right person. So I knew James for some time. We had been talking for some time, and I'm very happy he joined us. 13 of our 20 campus companies are minority or women owned. And I think it's good that we start to look a little bit like the people we serve. So I'm very happy to have him here. And it allows me also to do a lot more of the engineering and strategy stuff that I love to do so much, and I hope I'm good at. And he's going to pick up the pieces that we might have broken every once in a while. So go ahead, James. Say hello.
Welcome aboard, James.
Hope you have a lot of patience, James.
Glad to be here. Thank you very much. I have been around for a long time and served in many capacities in quite a few areas. I was a I handled business development as well as government relations and international business. Even as I'm hearing you talk about the FTZ, my mind starts to churn, because I traveled all over the world with Jim Taylor as we sought to do things, and have worked extensively with all of the municipalities, all 41 municipalities in Orange County. So looking forward to it, and I'm excited about the new endeavor and the opportunity to make a difference in the economic community in Orange County.
Thank you.
Okay, James, thank you.
All right, accelerator
Okay,
report. So Eddie brought up the accelerator meeting where we focused on, we're really focused on jobs. We're 100% the accelerator is focused on jobs, right? Both new economy jobs, that's the campuses, as well as supporting the existing businesses in the Accelerator Without Walls. Today, we spent a lot of time on Accelerator Without Walls companies. We brought in a number of companies over the last few months to the Accelerator Committee that literally had the best year ever in 2020 and hired. I don't know, and James will help us with this, we'll get better visibility to this. I mean, it's a pleasure, right, Denise and Ed, to hear these companies say, I hired 150 people, or I kept 200 people here. So while we hear the pandemic is killing things, we've got a good core of businesses that are growing and want to continue to grow. The concern we have is, while we pivoted in and used a lot of PPE to help us fill up the companies, we're going to have to pivot out of that. Because eventually, we're not going to wear masks, and we're going to go back to normal. The problem is the original core businesses of those companies may no longer exist in the same fashion as when we left them. So we need to figure out what these companies are going to do next. Every company who's come to us has said, I don't want to lay my people off. I want to keep them. I just want to get enough new work. So for those of us who have run our own businesses, whether it be lumberyard or whatever, that's not the easiest thing in the world to do, right? So we have to figure out how to get those new clients, the new technologies necessary. So we're focusing on that on the AWOW side. On the Accelerator campuses, it's all about helping those companies that have survived. We lost one to the pandemic, and two went on slowdown. And so we want to bring those back, back to life, obviously, and continue the growth of those smaller businesses and smaller companies. But the good news is, of the 20 of them, 16 of them, they made it. I'm going to declare I know we have more to go here, but they made it, and we want them to expand. We're also getting better the quality of companies we get in the service continues to get better. James mentioned earlier, one of the companies we just put into Warwick at the Manor House was on CBS this morning. And Melanie's sending the link around on it. Everybody could see that. What am I missing? Lori or James? Anything I'm missing? Seems like I'm missing one more thing. Oh, the leases. So our other plan obviously is to, as time goes on, to get these companies to stay in Orange County, but to no longer have to subsidize them from a rental basis. So we don't call that graduating out, we're calling that graduating in. We leave them right in the building, and then we get out of the interaction from holding the lease. So Mello has, as you know, for some months has asked us to take over their lease or buy the buildings directly from the town of New Windsor. The status of that, Kevin Downs has been working on that. The status of that is the town does not want to sell the buildings. Kevin is negotiating with them to see if we can get the lease directly between Mello and the town, and then we'll get out of that lease and we don't subsidize that anymore. If that doesn't work, then we'll take the lease with the town, and then Mello will be a 100% sub-renter from us. On the Zeal front, the landlord of 605 Broadway is negotiating directly with Zeal for them to take over the lease of the entire building. We expect that'll take another couple of months to get that set up, and then we'll get out of that. And then finally, the artificial intelligence building, which at one point, the Key Bank in Highland Falls, we had the entire building. We've been working with John, Laurie, myself, we've been working with Grace Community Church. They sent us a letter of intent with 5 items that had to be resolved. 3 of them were resolved. There were 2 left. One of them was a parking situation that was resolved 2 days ago. There's 1 item left, which is they want a change of use to authorize the building to be used as a church. That's being checked by Joe D'Onofrio. I talked to him just before this meeting, doesn't have the answer yet, but Denise Quinn educated us earlier and said you really cannot deny that kind of use. So I think we're going to be okay there. And then we did speak to the landlord of that building, Rick Minicozy, and explained to him that likely we would flip that lease to Grace Community Church, and then we'll just sublease 1,500 square feet or 2,000 square feet of the building to start the AI. And then finally, there's a new superintendent at the U.S. Military Academy. Her name is Colonel Roselle. And I talked to her day before yesterday. She's on board, very excited about the AI initiative. She absolutely needs help, whether it's AI or other, and this is of interest to us. She absolutely needs help with faculty spouses who are well-trained, well-degreed, and need a job, need something to keep them busy. They're very bored of being in Highland Falls without having that intellectual ability. So we want to apply some of them to the AI companies that we come in, but we may be able to apply some of them perhaps to the laboratory we have in Warwick, and maybe some the CBD and the marijuana companies coming in and things like that. And she's very anxious for us to get started in that part of the project because it helps her immediately. I'll stop there. James, anything you want to add or?
Penny, can I ask, maybe if you want to talk, I don't know if you want to, but we had that meeting with Mount St. Mary. Maybe it's worth just a quick mention about their interest in the AI.
So the president of Mount St. Mary College and I had a conversation a few days ago, and then yesterday, Laurie and I and several of their executives had a conversation. They're very interested in doing a couple of things. And this is, again, it's good because, we've never been able to do anything with Mount St. Mary's. Nobody's fault. It's just that they didn't cater to local students and technology was not their thing and they had to find their way, but they really have a very much more empowered, looks like aggressive staff that came to this meeting. So they would like to do everything from create an AI, let's call it curriculum, could be a series of 1 or 2 classes. It's brand new. There's nothing else in the area that does that right now. But more interesting to me was they had a few faculty members who were actually already doing things like machine learning and robotics. And they want those faculty to come to the table and their students to be able to be interns and work with the companies we bring to Highland Falls in AI, and maybe even partner with the military academy with their engineering students, which is good. So it was all very good, nothing defined yet, but it's, like I said, very, very encouraging. I think the topic itself is, very sexy right now. It's definitely a new economy kind of thing. And if we make the right moves, we have a good chance of hitting something very good there.
And then there are some companies as well that are still very much interested. There are at least 10 companies that as soon as we can get that situation with the lease, solidified, they are interested in coming over.
Yeah. And as Steve Brescher mentioned earlier, I'll just close with this. 2 municipalities have contacted us about potential accelerators for their area. And I'm expecting to hear from a third shortly. It's the same, no secret, it's Port Jervis. So, there's still a demand. Whether we fill it or not will be up to the board.
All right, thank you, Vinny and James, for that. It was a good report. And things are moving in a positive direction. Certainly the AI is starting to drum up a lot of interest. Mount St. Mary, themselves, they've been going through some flux over there. They've had 3 presidents, I think, in the last 5 years. Sister Ann retired, Kevin Mackin retired, and now there's I think this is the second new president since then.
Mhm.
So they've had some growing pains going on over there as well. But at least their interest now, that they really didn't have much interest ever before, I think that's very impressive as well. And certainly the West Point interest is huge, and huge for Highland Falls for sure. Okay.
Okay, so the next item on the agenda is the resolutions. So, Melanie, did we have anybody from Orange? Oh, yes.
Yes, there they are.
Hello.
Hi, guys. So Orange Inn is before us today with their final resolution. They had gone through their public hearing, which the board had seen the public hearing transcripts. There's a lot of local support for this project. Again, it's the renovation of the building that they're currently in. We had waited for a support letter, which was just received this morning. It was also in the email that Melanie sent out. Obviously, the project has been waiting for the letter of support and the support letter to be able to move forward. So I'm sure we're all excited to be here today. 2 things before we go on to the final resolution. Just as a reminder, the score for this project, the Orange Inn, is out of an available 30. It's a 15, which is typical. So it's sector-based pilot approval range. It's to go through the various categories: strategic vision, 0 or 5. Due to COVID, everything it's getting a 5 because development is encouraged, and it's a great thing that they're being able to take this on at this point in time. The rateable value, which is a sliding scale, is a 1. The number of jobs relative to the industry is a 3. Quality, a 1. Again, that's because of the rates, but again, in the hospitality industry, that's not atypical. Location is in Orange County, so it's a 1. It would be a 5 if it were in a designated growth zone. But desirability is a 4. It's a historical building that's being renovated. It's in support of Legoland and the tourism center that's growing in Goshen. And of course, we know from experience, not only on this board, that everybody is familiar with the current location and is grateful, supportive of the development, but also at the county level, certainly. And now with the letter from the village, we know that the village is obviously also in support as well. So that being said, this would be the option now for the board would be to determine whether a 10 or a 4-year pilot would be appropriate. The 4-year is certainly appropriate, but if anybody wants to make exception and approve a 10, of course, we can have that conversation. But I don't know if Luigi and Carly, if you have anything you'd like to add in terms of, comments about your project.
Well, I like the number 10. That would help me.
Hey, Luigi, what about the top floor? Is there going to be a rooftop bar or dining?
Can you go over the scope of the project?
No.
Did last time, I think, or the last time.
No, I don't think. I think it's just going to be a lounge area, not a rooftop. No.
Can you just explain the?
That would have been nice, I think. But.
It would have been, but there was a lot of complications and certain people that the village, I guess, Weldon was certain concern of that particular building, the old building. So
Mhm.
It just, there's too many headaches, and I seen that they were not in favor of it. I was excited for it, but not everybody thinks the way I do.
Understood.
Yeah.
Hey, Lori,
Yes.
Jimmy DeSalvo here. Any support letters from any county officials in that neck of the woods for this particular project? Since it's a
Yeah,
local
actually,
business trying to expand itself?
I don't know that we have a letter, but certainly they were at the public hearing. On the tourism, I believe Amanda was at the public hearing. I can't
He
remember.
wrote a letter.
Yes, we have a support letter from the local chamber and the county chamber, and Fioravanti spoke in support during the public hearing. Amanda spoke in support during the public hearing.
I guess what I was trying to narrow down was any elected officials on the county side that was there to
No.
support the project.
No, they weren't there. Mike Torelli was also there, but no in terms of elected officials.
Okay, that's a real shame. I do support it. What the board wants to come up with, whether it's 4 or 10. I just wish, the county representation in that neck of the woods would have come out and supported a local business. Thank you.
Is it,
That being said, I guess, Eddie, I would turn it over to you to lead the discussion, but is there any feeling again, like I said, it's absolutely qualified for a 4-year. We are definitely in a development phase where, things are challenging, right? So I would think that it's purely board discretion for whether or not the pilot would be 4 or 10 years.
Well, yeah, Lori, I think that
Mr. Diamond?
with this location, certainly the historic nature of the building, and certainly with an ongoing business that has been there for many years, and Luigi has been there, well, I guess almost 20 years probably now, right? Close to that, Luigi. And
Yes.
this is only going to enhance the project, and not only with the restaurant and the catering side of it, but also the housing of the rooms and the apartments that have been there as well. And I think we need that affordable type of housing that avails to the area as well. And certainly when you add them all together, I would be in favor of the 10-year, even though me with hotels, I'm not a big fan of going past 4, but I think the historic nature of where it's located, Legoland coming in, and the restaurant catering and the rooms and apartments, I think makes this a very viable project for the area. So I would encourage the 10-year, or at least let's have that discussion for sure.
Yeah,
I agree with you, Eddie.
I concur with you, Eddie. I mean, this is a little more unique than your typical run-of-the-mill motel that we
Right,
couple on.
exactly.
And I sit on the Goshen Historic Tract Board of Directors, and you sat
Yep.
on it years ago. And
Yep.
we're very familiar with that corridor and what it's meant to the county. I mean, that's the county seat and oldest village in the county. Montgomery is only a year younger than the village of Goshen. So there's uniqueness here that would lend itself to a 10-year rather than a 4-year. Normally, I would, in normal circumstances, I would say a 4-year, but I do like the 10-year on this
Right.
project for those reasons
Okay.
that you alluded.
All right, Stephen, thank you.
I would.
Anyone-
I would
anyone
strongly
else?
recommend 10 years also.
Okay, John. Any other board member have any comments?
Eddie will have a place to stay when he comes up from Florida.
That's right. Especially if I sell my place up there, right, Michael? No, I'll never sell, Michael. I got my kids there too for forever, so. Okay. Hearing,
I agree with the scope and what, as long as they've been there and the community, I think it would warrant the 10-year.
okay. All
You
right.
need a motion,
is there a
motion,
motion?
Mr. Chair?
I'll move it.
I'll second his motion.
I jumped on
Okay,
top
we
of
have
it.
any further discussion? All right, hearing none. Kevin, do you want to do a roll call or just?
Well, this was a movement on the actual resolution, a final resolution, or just for the 10-year pilot?
Final resolution.
Okay. So you want me to
Well,
read?
do we
Or both, actually. So I would
do
say
we
that
need both, Kevin? Right, I
I would
said,
say
Kevin,
both.
we need both or?
Yeah, I mean, I thought you were just discussing the 10-year and then we can go to the final resolution. and-
Okay, so let's vote on the 10-year and then we'll come right back with the final, right behind it.
Okay. So,
Okay.
Ms. Quinn,
Aye.
Mr. McCary,
Aye.
Mr. Gatos,
Yes.
Mr. Brescia,
Yes.
Mr. DeSalvo,
Yes,
and Mr. Diana.
Yes,
So that's 6 ayes, so you approve a 10-year pilot.
yes.
Now I'll read the final resolution and you'll have a motion and second on that. and We'll do the roll call on that.
Okay,
Final resolution, RNGN LLC, resolution authorizing the Orange County Industrial Development Agency to take a leasehold interest in an approximately 0.23 acre parcel of land located at 159, 167 Main Street in the village and town of Goshen, Orange County, New York. Appoint Origin Inc., Origin LLC as its agent to undertake a certain project. Negotiate, execute, and deliver a lease agreement, leaseback agreement, and tax agreement. Provide financial assistance to the company in the form of a sales and use tax exemption for purchases or rentals related to the acquisition, renovation, and equipping the project. And B, a partial real property tax abatement through the tax agreement and execute related documents.
so moved.
So move. I said,
Okay. Ms. Quinn,
Aye.
Mr. McCary,
aye.
Mr. Gatos,
Yes.
Mr. Brescia,
Yes.
Mr. DeSalvo,
Yes,
Mr. Diana,
yes.
Ms. Rogosi is absent, so it's 6 ayes, the resolution is adopted.
Okay, thank you, Kevin. Luigi, do you have anything to say, Luigi?
Just to say thank you so much. Thank you so much for being supportive and helping me on this project and making it
Okay.
easy for me. Hopefully I'll be successful and things will be well.
All right,
Thank
very
you.
good.
Thank
Congratulations.
thank you so much.
Be in touch to help you start
Congratulations.
proposing.
Thank you so much again. Thank you.
Okay. Okay,
right.
Lori?
Next would be Amy's Kitchen. So we have Larry Walensky from Amy's Kitchen will be joining us in a second, as well as Mike Cheng. So just as they join the meeting, I'll go ahead and start this off just by saying this is a pretty simple, well, I mean, I would say that I'm not a lawyer, so I don't know how simple it is really, but it sounds kind of simple. And an assignment and assumption, because there is an entity that will be purchasing the property from Amy's, but Amy's will be constructing and operating the facility as planned before. So I actually, since Larry is with us now, Larry, if you wouldn't mind giving the board just a quick snapshot of kind of what this transaction looks like, what it means for
Sure.
Amy's, and
Sure.
you know the drill.
Yeah, okay, sure, yeah. Before I do that, I just want to say Happy New Year to everybody on behalf of Amy's and hope everybody is safe and well. Amy's is partnering with WP Carey Inc. It's a national real estate investment trust, REIT, we refer to them as. And as part of that, WP Carey would come in and fund a good part of the construction of the building. In turn, Amy's would convey the property, including the building, to WP Carey Inc. And WP Carey Inc. would lease the building back to Amy's under a 25-year lease with 2 automatic 10-year extensions. So it's effectively 45 year lease term. The Amy's would still, under this arrangement, Amy's is still responsible for all of the construction of the facilities. It's as if that didn't, there's nothing has changed along those lines. And Amy's is also responsible for continuing to meet all of the obligations it has entered into with the Industrial Development Agency. And will in turn continue to receive the benefits that it has already been receiving. The construction of the building is scheduled to commence on in the springtime, hopefully the early springtime. building plans are under the active review of the Town of Goshen building inspector. And so it is moving forward. The IDA documents that Amy currently have with you specify that upon any transfer of the property, it would need the consent of the IDA. And that's essentially what we're seeking from the IDA. And we've previewed this with your attorneys. And attorneys see any legal issue with it, legal documents to make sure that all the parties are protected. So that's basically it. If you have any questions,
Yeah, I have a question.
I'm happy to answer them.
I have a question, Chairman or Vice Chair.
Go ahead, Steve.
Yeah, Larry, I don't know how long ago it was. We met in my office. I believe you were there. It might have been Mr. Chang, the Berliners. And
Yep.
you know, we've supported this project almost since its inception. I don't know, was there ever an intent to have a turnkey operation like this current plan? Because I don't remember ever discussing that. I know we worked through the hurdles with the city of Middletown. We met out on site with that culvert, and Eddie was the supervisor of town of Walkville at the time. We
Yep.
had county personnel and a lot of people working that out, and that was resolved, I believe, along the
Yeah.
trail. But I don't remember anything, you know, I mean, I thought the facility would have been up and running by now. Why the transition to a turnkey operation with an outside, you know, lease back deal? What happened that changed things? I don't think that was the intent in the beginning. And I don't think it's, you know, I'm certainly not a deal breaker, but I just wonder why that transpired. Can you hear me? You
Yeah,
were frozen.
it's the answer to that. Two things happened. Can you hear me?
Yep, now I can.
Okay, two things happen. One, changes in just business demand and model in the Amy's, internally in Amy's as things went by. And the second was COVID-19, which has also changed the dynamics. So I can't answer anything more specifically than that, other than it's a market force driven thing. Everything is still under control by Amy's. This is a way of getting some addict. Amy's is also focusing on in California. And, you know, when COVID came in, it really, you know, changed their business model a bit. And in fact, it was to the benefit, because there were actually more demand for these kinds of items. And so they're trying to, you know, do everything they can to meet that demand. And so this all just was determined as a business decision to be the best thing for the company to do to move forward.
Well, I would hope it would expedite it, because I mean, the groundbreaking was what, the end of June, 2
Yeah,
years
you're
ago,
right.
when the county exec surprised everybody and came home. And I was at that groundbreaking shovel ceremony.
They had, as I know you're aware, and we're very appreciative of your help. There was at least 1.5 years worth of infrastructure construction between traffic improvements and that sewer and water line, which is all done now. So, you know, so the time, you know, it wasn't that they were doing nothing during that time, but it was, that stuff was going on as well. So.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Is there any other questions from anyone?
Is that whole project that whole area being bought that was Amy's, even the vacant land, or is it just the parcel where the,
It's two parcels. The parcel where the food manufacturing facility is, and then the second parcel for Route 17M. Those are both the parcels that are covered under the existing IDA agreement.
Hey, Larry,
Yes,
Mike Gatos here.
hi, Mike.
If you could, I know Amy's Kitchen was grandfathered in with the local labor policy. So I know contractors that have been in touch with, who's it, Chang? Is it Chang?
Mike Chang.
Yes, yep. So the communication was kind of difficult at times. So being that there's no local labor policy, and then this WP Carey now is going to be having some input, is there anything that you can help with local labor? I mean, we're past it. There's nothing in writing, but I mean, this is an IDA project and we would like as much local labor as possible, or at least the opportunity to talk to someone without going through hoops to touch somebody to get some information. That's all we're asking.
I do know, and I have not been, I'm just the legal counsel, so I'm not involved in the construction process. And so I don't know all of the contractors, but I thought I saw where there was quite a substantial amount of local labor utilized for the infrastructure installments.
Well, the infrastructure, yes, it fell under prevailing rate, and the bridge and stuff, that was kind of, a given. But the construction of the building itself, and I know, if you could at least help facilitate that process, I'm all.
I would be happy to, and I will take it back to Amy's general counsel and tell them that you guys need a point person for them to speak with on that issue.
That would be great.
Okay.
Good. Okay, anyone else?
May I, Eddie, may I just ask Russ, could you
Yes.
comment a little bit on what it looks like in terms of our agreements with Amy's and how this will impact, if at all, reporting, the sales tax documents, anything like that, just so everybody's clear on what that looks like?
Sure. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. So Kevin and I have had numerous conversations with Larry and other counsel. As Lori noted at the outset, this is a relatively, from a legal standpoint, simple transaction where Amy's Kitchen will transfer fee title to the facility subject to the lease and lease back, and then it'll be leased back to Amy's Kitchen, and Amy's Kitchen will still be on the hook, for lack of a better way of putting it, for the obligations that they have now. Any and all reporting requirements will continue as they have in the past. So really, from a practical and administrative standpoint, from the IDA's perspective, nothing really changes.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Anyone else? John, you have anything, or?
No, I think we should move it forward so they can move forward with construction.
I have a question.
Yes, Denise.
I thought, I'm not positive, but I thought I remembered hearing something about that facility having to be built first before they could build their amphitheater or.
Science of the Soul.
Right.
That is correct. Yeah, that is correct. That's a condition of the approvals.
Right. So how does the transfer of this property and the fact that it's now a different company impact that agreement?
This is Russ again. It does not. It does not impact that at all.
Okay.
The transfer of the facility doesn't impact any of the obligations that Amy has agreed to.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure because I know that was something important to Goshen.
And we agree with that. That's correct.
Okay.
Very good, Denise. All right, anyone else? All right, hearing none, I think we should move to the resolution itself.
Okay, very good. Resolution authorizing the Orange County Industrial Development Agency to execute all necessary documents in connection with the conveyance of the facility to WP Carey Incorporated or an affiliated entity thereof.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All right, seeing none, Kevin, let's have a roll call, please.
Very good. Ms. Quinn,
Aye.
Mr. McCary,
Aye.
Mr. Gatos,
Yes.
Mr. Brescia,
Yes.
Mr. DeSalvo,
Yes,
Mr. Diana,
Yes,
and Chairwoman Rogalski is absent, so 6 ayes, the resolution is adopted.
okay, Larry, thank you.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Hi, Larry.
Okay,
Hi, Larry.
okay, Lori.
So next we have a Wallkill Owner LLC. So as our guests from the Lincoln Avenue Capital and Levitt and Uccio LLP come on, I will sort of give a little preface here. So Russ had actually introduced us to this group. They're purchasing an affordable housing development in the town of Wallkill. There is an existing set of benefits with the town of Wallkill IDA, but the town of Wallkill IDA does not issue bonds. So in this situation, what we'll be doing is issuing bonds for the purchase and renovation of the affordable housing. We will also be there requesting also sales tax exemption, mortgage reporting tax exemption, and a pilot, which I will let Russ and Ryan speak to, because it's not our typical real estate property tax based kind of pilot, and it's got a very different structure, but typical for this kind of transaction.
Lori,
So
before we go to them, let me ask you, is this comparable what we did with Joel Mounty
yes,
a couple, 2 or
Malco.
3 years ago?
Yes,
It's
that's
so
correct.
it's not something it's not on.
Not uncommon. It's totally typical. We've done it before.
And how did that work out with Joel Mounty's company? I know he was renovating the 2 projects there. It worked out okay.
Great.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that worked
Joel-
out fine, Stephen.
Yeah, Mount Co's projects, and if you recall, I think that was 2018, and we did projects in Rockland as well. I spoke with them, as a matter of fact, about a month ago, and as is typical with Mount Co, everything is right on pace.
Question right now, the current Wallkill Living Center is tax exempt. They pay no taxes whatsoever. They're non-for-profit, I believe,
Are you talking about the
current owner.
of the existing of this facility, or of the assisted living facility?
Wallkill Living Assistant,
But this isn't an assisted living facility. This is an affordable housing,
affordable housing, senior apartments, that's what they are.
right? But it's not the same as that Braemar. Is that what you're talking about?
No,
No, not Braemar. The other one's been there for a long time, and the other one is right next door to the Monty properties now,
right.
Montco properties. So I am assuming that's the one. I don't.
I would
if you-
let Ryan and Russ respond to that.
Yeah, if you told
I'm
me,
not
if you told me the location, I could tell you better, but,
Right
Yeah.
along Price Shop already. It's at back.
right, I think, yeah, but,
It does,
all right. So this one is the behind Price Chopper, John?
yes, yes.
So this is not the one near the Montco project. It's
No.
not the Overhill Road project then?
No, no.
Okay. Okay, I know where it is, but the rest of the board might have some, and you know where it is, but the
I
rest of
think
the
I know
board,
where it is. I think I
May not.
Uber in there once in a while, so I think I know where it is.
yeah. It's the,
It's on the
it's
Shoot
the
Road
fire-
extension.
It's kind of
Story
hidden.
high.
and it's
Yeah.
the 4 or 5 story.
The entrance is right before, if you're coming down Dunning Road, it's at the right
Right.
before Price Chopper, right?
Correct,
Right,
yeah,
correct.
Okay, yeah, I've been there. Okay. I've seen it. Yeah.
right.
So that being said, I would ask actually, so Ryan is here with us, excuse me, from Lincoln Avenue Capital. So Ryan, if you wouldn't mind speaking to Mr. McCary's question, giving us an overview of the property, kind of who you guys are, what's being done to it, and then we can address that as well. But I'll turn it over to you.
Yeah, I prepared something that's brief, but gives some detail on the property. So afterwards, if there's any questions, I'm happy to answer. Yeah, like I said, I'm Ryan Withall. I'm a director of development with Lincoln Avenue Capital. Lincoln Avenue is a real estate development firm. We focus on acquisition, preservation, development, affordable housing across the United States. Our company was founded in 2016, and we've been quite active in the last 5 years. We own more than 50 properties comprising 10,000 plus units across 10 states. And in the last 4 years, we've closed almost 20 bond tax credit rehab transactions and have completed construction on 8. I'm here today to request bond inducement for Wallkill Living Center. It's a 136 unit elderly affordable apartment building. The tax bill says it's located in the town of Wallkill, but based on the map, it's, as everyone was indicating, near the Price Chopper shopping center on the outskirts of Middletown. It was built in 2003. It's 58 one-bedroom units and 78 two-bedroom units. Currently, all of the one-bedroom units and 58 of the two-bedroom units are subject to a regulatory agreement with the Housing Trust Fund Corporation and Wallkill IDA, and those units are set aside at 60% of AMI, and that agreement goes until March of 2034. 17 of the units are set aside for frail elderly tenants, and the remaining 20 two-bedroom units are not subject to income restrictions, so they're market. The owner and property applicant, Wallkill Owner LLC, which is an affiliate of Lincoln Avenue Capital, we intend to proceed with a rehab of the property using tax-exempt bonds issued by the Orange County IDA and 4% low-income housing tax credits issued by HCR. The total development cost will be $26.7 million. That will consist of an acquisition basis of $15.9 million. The total rehab cost will be $5.44 million. The soft costs will be approximately $2.1 million with $3.5 million in developer fee. The sources of funds will include tax-exempt bonds in an amount not to exceed $18 million, equity proceeds from the sale of low-income housing tax credits in the amount of $8.83 million, and an assumed subordinate loan that is currently in place with the Housing Trust Fund Corporation of $1.31 million, and then a deferral of the developer fee to balance the sources. As a result of the project, we intend to extend the affordability of the property by restricting those 20 market rate units at 60% AMI, so the entire property will be affordable, and then entering in an extended use agreement for at least another 30 years. The rehab, the $5.44 million rehab, will provide $40,000 per unit in property capital improvements. We'll complete the rehab within 12 months, and the focus will be mostly on improving tenant quality of life and then improving the physical condition and operational efficiency of the project. Some of the items that we include in our typical scope are replacement of all in-unit lighting fixtures with energy efficient LED fixtures, windows and sliding doors being replaced with double glazed units. We're going to upgrade all of the appliances in units to Energy Star rated appliances. We'll fix water efficient fixtures onto the kitchen bathroom sinks, and we'll have low flow toilets and shower heads. Additionally, we're going to replace all the interior door hardware, kitchen cabinets, vanities, kitchen countertops, and install resilient vinyl flooring. So this will be focused mainly on updating the units for the tenants. In addition to tax-exempt bonds, we've also applied for an exemption of sales tax on building materials and services in an amount not to exceed $221,000. And an exemption of mortgage recording tax not to exceed $187,500. And then a granting, as was mentioned, a granting of a new payment in lieu of taxes. The current pilot agreement is with the Wallkill IDA, and as was mentioned, they're not in a position to issue bonds, and they are aware and approve of our bond request with the Orange County IDA. Just to kind of describe the current terms of the pilot, it was issued in 2003 with the original construction of the property. It's a tax as a percentage of gross rents plus direct assessments. So in 2004, the first full year of occupancy, the gross rent percentage started at 3%, and then it escalated by 30 basis points annually until the 11th year of the agreement, where the percentage has stabilized at 7% of gross rents. And that is in perpetuity as long as the Housing Trust Fund soft loan is still in force. I have a kind of brief summary of the economic impact we expect to generate from this project. And this is based on a study that was completed by the National Association of Home Builders in 2015, quantifying the impacts of $1 million of residential rehab or remodeling. If based on two kind of phases of economic impact, on the direct impact of the spending and construction plus the induced impact of the money flowing through the local economy, $1 million of rehab will generate a local income of $840,000, local business income of $250,000, local wages and salaries of $585,000, local taxes of $70,000, and 11.5 local jobs. So if we apply that to the total rehab amount of $5.4 million that this project will generate, that means a total local income of $4.57 million, local business income of approximately $1.4 million, local wages and salaries of about $3.2 million, local taxes of $384,000, and 62.5 local jobs. And the property currently has 2 full-time employees and 2 part-time employees that are employed by our third-party management company. And additionally, the project supports through service contracts that help with the operation of the property of 8 to 10 additional part-time jobs. So that's pretty much it. And I'm happy to answer any questions about the project, timing,
I
etc.
have a couple questions.
Sure.
Okay, Ryan, you're coming to us to be the conduit for the bonding, and in doing so, you're obligated under our labor policy. Is that correct, Russ or Kevin or Lori?
That's correct. Yes.
Okay, all right. I mean, yeah, the 5 million threshold is probably not a concern so much of organized labor, but I mean, I know you have Rao Plumbing right down the street on Dunning. You have 84 Lumber, Lowe's, Home Depot, and Builders First Source right there, probably within 1 mile to 2 miles. So, and your local labor, I would hope that that's all utilized to the utmost extent, because you have a lot of local labor right, immediately available and supply houses right there. So I would hope that that's utilized if we go forward with this proposal.
Yeah, absolutely. That's our intention. We're very early in this process, and I've communicated with our in-house construction team all of their labor policies with respect to using local labor. So what we'll do is, when we have not yet selected a general contractor, when we prepare our bid to go out to bid for our GCs, we'll include that requirement. And so every bid that we receive and review will already have that baked into the proposal.
Good, because I've seen things like this happen where companies come in from out of state and they, but if you're going through us, I would think that we have to, it's got to adhere to our labor policy. So okay.
Yeah, Steve, to answer your question, just to be direct, because they're coming through the IDA, all of our policies would apply to this. So that they're just because we're issuing bonds, which is not something we typically do, that does not absolve them of requiring with those policies. So yes, that will have to be complied with.
And it sounds like it's win-win to me, if that's the case. Thank you.
I have
Are
a
you
question.
applying for any
Go ahead, Denise. Go ahead, Denise. Go ahead, Denise.
Are you applying for any HCR grants?
Not at this point. Based on the current model and proposed project, we aren't going to be required to find any gap financing, which makes it easier for us and will allow us to proceed with the project without having to involve that review process on HCR's front. So I think it's a good thing for the project. In the case that we encounter some issues, that's available. So it'll allow the project to proceed if we need it, but we're trying to go only to HCR for issuance of the tax credits.
Is that it, Denise?
Yes.
Okay. Question, this is that Diana. I know that area very well. My question is, I know that Wallkill IDA cannot issue the bonds. You can't go through them for that. You have to come through us. If Orange County decided not to enhance and allow this project to go forward, what would you guys do in place of that? How would you continue with the project, or would you not? Or would you not continue?
There is an avenue for us to receive bonds from the state level bond issuers, but our experience and information that we received is that acquisition rehab deals are very low on the totem pole for allocation, as the state
Sure.
is interested in allocating towards new construction. And I really don't know how that would impact the timeline. It would really extend our timeline and make it more of a toss-up. There would be no guarantee that we would be allocated bonds. And so all the guidance that we received is that working with a local IDA is a much better avenue for these types of projects. And at my former company, which was also a real estate developer that worked in New York State, I had done a deal with an IDA on Long Island, and it worked out really well. And it seemed to be able to address the issues of the property, but avoid the potential gridlock with working with the state issuing agencies.
Okay. So in essence, what you're saying is that you guys already own the properties. You want to go through with the rehab and make it better for the clients that are there in the whole area, and also encourage the development and bring in the money for local businesses and local labor and all of those things. And if we didn't help with the bonding side, make it lower cost to your company, that you may indeed not do it or just push it out further to get it done. Is that what I'm hearing?
Correct, yes. Our business plan at this point is to go forward with an acquisition and rehab, which we think is the best outcome for the property.
Right.
I think that if we don't get access to bonds, it might be difficult for us to continue to operate the property.
Right, okay.
Ed, this
Thank
is
you.
Russ.
Yes, Russ.
I've done these projects, these affordable projects across the state, and I'm not here to sell anybody on it, but
Sure.
As Ryan indicated, when they have to go through a state agency versus a local agency, the timing is a lot more difficult, and frankly, the fees that are paid are not to the locals. It's to the state.
Sure.
So
Okay.
it's a win-win. These projects take a while to come together. And Ryan, I don't want to speak for you, but my guess is this is probably a third quarter closing. But we'll get the process started now with respect to the volume cap requests, the TEFRA hearing that we have to hold, and some of the ministerial acts that we have to undertake. But the financing itself and the deal will probably take 3 to 4 months,
Sure.
if not longer, to
Okay.
put together.
Yeah, and I'm not saying we're not going to do it. I just wanted to make sure, they own the properties already. They would go through with it possibly, but later down the road. And I just wanted to make that very clear. And also, we've had good experience with the Montco properties already that were very successful. So I don't foresee a problem, but I just wanted to bring all of that out so everybody on the board could hear all of those things. Okay, thank you.
How much bonding are they looking for? The value of the bonds?
So currently, I think what we've done is put a significant cushion on what we're requesting at the outset. Our request is $18 million, and that's a to not exceed number. Likely the final bond volume amount that we request will be lower. It will end up being approximately 55% of the total development cost to be able to meet the tax credit requirements. So right now we're at almost a $27 million total development cost, which would translate to $13.5 to $14 million of bond if we were to close the deal today. But as things shake out and the deal might change in terms of total cost, we want to set a number that we won't have to go back to you to ask for more later.
And the length of those bonds are 20 years or 30 years?
Yes, that's correct. I think that, yes, they're long-term bonds.
You said you're improving all the lighting and the electrical stuff. Are you getting any NYSERDA money for that?
We are not, no. We can explore that option, but really it's going to help us improve the utility usage at the site, which will benefit our operating costs. And so it's a win-win for us.
Any other questions? Okay,
No, Ed, I just
seeing,
want to make one point of clarification.
go
of
ahead,
the
Russ.
Resolution, this came out today. The resolution that you've reviewed mentions the city of Middletown. That is not part of the location of the property. We've already revised the resolution and sent it to Melanie. So what you have in front of you will change just to reflect that correction.
so it'll
just to be
say the
clear.
town of Walkill.
Correct. And I also want to I digress, but I wanted to welcome James. Vinny and Lori have done an amazing thing with the accelerator, but they need all the help they can get. And I think you're going to be a very welcome addition to the team.
Okay. Any other questions at all? Okay, Kevin, at this time, I think we should vote on the resolution.
Okay, so inducement resolution. Resolution of the Orange County Industrial Development Agency accepting the application of Wallkill Owner LLC with respect to a certain project, taking official action towards the issuance of up to $18 million principal amount multifamily housing revenue bonds for the purpose of financing such project, describing the forms of financial assistance being contemplated by the Orange County Industrial Development Agency with respect to such project, and authorizing a public hearing with respect to such project.
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion?
Andrew, Mike Dunn from the Ironworkers.
Yes, Mike, go ahead. No? Okay. Anyone else? Okay, Lori, I have one more question. Just what is the amount of fees that they will have to pay to the Orange County IDA?
It's over 200,000 roughly.
Okay, I just wondered. Okay. All right, seeing no further discussion, is there a roll call, please?
Yes, there is.
Okay,
Ms. Quinn,
Aye.
Mr. McCary,
Aye.
Mr. Gatos,
Yes.
I don't know yet. We're gonna go through.
Mr. DeSalvo,
Yes.
Mr. Brescia,
Yes.
Mr. Diana,
yes,
and Chairwoman Rogoski is absent. So 6 ayes, the resolution's adopted.
okay,
Thank you, Ryan. We'll be in touch and we'll schedule.
okay, Ryan.
We'll get
Thank you very
started.
much, everyone.
Thank you for coming.
Okay, Lori,
Okay, so next on the agenda is we need to break into an attorney-client session. So I would need a motion and a second for that.
So moved.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Right.
Okay.
So Dean, you let us know. Eddie, we're back.
Okay, okay, Lori, I think we should go into public session and talk about the 25, or at least vote on the $25,000.
Sure. So we're going to ask for a motion to allocate $25,000 in furtherance of the Brown Wine Rob contract. Would that be accurate, Kevin?
Yes.
Okay.
So moved.
Second.
Agreed.
Okay, any discussion?
No,
Okay, here-
other than we're spending this money due to the letters and correspondence from the legislators. That's what we're doing. That's why we're doing it.
Okay. Okay, anything else?
Should be roll call.
Okay, seeing no further discussion, Kevin, let's have a roll call, please.
Mr. DeSalvo,
Yes.
Mr. Gatos,
Yes.
Mr. McCary,
Yes.
Ms. Quinn,
Yes.
Mr. Brescia,
Yes.
Mr. Diana.
Yes,
That's 6 ayes, Mr. Chairman. Resolution's adopted.
thank you. Lori, any further business to attend to today?
No other further business, just adjournment.
Wait.
Oh,
Okay.
Because we don't have a meeting before International Women's Day. And one of the things that I thought of when we had our accelerator meeting is that we should post something on our Facebook page for all the women businesses that we've helped, within the last year.
absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, including the loans.
Very good point.
Including the loans, definitely.
Yes.
Good idea, Denise.
We had a little put together, a little marketing effort that we were sort of straw manning a little bit before. So I think we'll see what we can get together and get
Okay.
out there right away.
Well, don't you get a little gold star, Denise? That was pretty darn good.
That's right.
I'm full of surprises. Jimmy
You
DeSalvo.
sure are, boy. I'll
That's
tell you, that was
good.
fantastic. I really like that idea.
That's it. Very good.
So then we would just need adjournment at this point. And to the-
Okay.
yes.
Okay, is there a motion to adjourn?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Yeah, I like
All
it.
right. Everybody in the favor of that? Yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Aye. Okay.